Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Die podcast provided to you by 214 Media. Woo. Hold on now. Let me go get my good man AJ in this thing right quick. There we go. I am your host, Mual, Coach Mual, Hen Dog Mual, all that good stuff, man. AJ in this thing right quick, man. AJ, how you feeling today, dog? Everything good?
Yeah, man, I'm good. How about you?
I'm all right, man. I can't complain. When's the last time? This is gonna be very random for those who are listening, but I thought about randomly. I thought about your aunt this morning because when I walked outside to walk my dog, bruh, and it was only 40 degrees. I said I can't imagine the weather in the morning in North Dakota, bruh.
Yeah, man, I really don't understand it. I asked it at first, but I ain't really get too much of an answer. It's kind of like
I'm about to look up the
wanted
weather
to
right
change.
now.
I was like, "You're tripping," but
when did that happen? Oh my, it's 28 degrees right now in Fargo. When did that happen this year?
Nah, she's been out there. She's been out there a couple years now. But
oh wow, okay, I respect that.
Yeah, I think like she's part of some like church organization and they encouraged her to move out there because that shit don't make no sense. Like mind you, we African, we West African, so it's already a limited amount of black people out there, but just imagine
I think you putting in
Africans, like, nah, son.
So 22 degrees in the morning. So it will be 22 degrees tomorrow morning around the time that I will walk my dog. God bless your aunt. I hope she is well. I hope she is healthy, but never in my day will I consider the state North Dakota. Monty,
she'd be like, when you come to visit, I'm like, never. Like, you will see me on FaceTime.
I hope you understand.
Like, what I look like paying for a flight.
I will buy you a plane ticket to come here before I go out there. Oh my goodness. Hey man, so what's on the plate for Thanksgiving? Like setup. I understand given the context. I know that the family dynamic is a little bit different. But kind of how are things now? And your gathering. What's the plan this year?
Man, it's after losing my mom, it's kind of like everything is no longer the same. It's crazy you mentioned that because I actually had something in my tweets in my draft, like, the 2 days before Thanksgiving, my mom be like hustling, like trying to get to the store and work her way through the aisles to prepare everything for Thanksgiving, what we want. But yeah, them days no longer exist. So pretty much, man, I got a reservation for one at a steakhouse in DC on Thursday. Probably just get something to eat while I'm there and watch one of the games that's on TV, like kind of like play the bar.
I'm just conversating, just trying to get to understand. Has the family, with whatever you're willing to share, has the family like talked about like doing like the cousins and people that's in the area? Have they talked about trying to like have like a whether it's a Friendsgiving, even Christmas, like in next month? Like has there been something in terms of like a gathering?
Man, nah. Like I mean, just like originally, maybe some weeks ago, like my brother had brought to my attention, like my uncle, and my aunt had talked about doing Thanksgiving in New Jersey. And at first, I really wasn't on board. I kind of just been staying to myself ever since like shit happened, for real, honestly. But I wasn't originally on board. And then when I got on board, I want to say like the next day, that got turned into, my uncle saying like, we're going to do Thanksgiving at one of my cousin's cribs in Germantown. And I don't rock with him at all. So it's just like I come from a big family
Like,
on my mom's side. Like my mom's side of her family, my grandma had 10 kids. So it's a whole bunch of different personalities. Like it's a whole bunch of different dynamics. So it's just like, nah, I was like, I'm definitely not going to Germantown. So yeah, man, it's just interesting. But until I have my own family, I don't have kids yet. As you know, until that moment happens,
that we know of.
Yeah, I mean that I know of for sure. Definitely had some wild Miami nights that be making me think like, damn, what if I do have a little AJ out there? I don't even remember chick. I don't even remember
Miami
chick
right
name.
now.
That boy gonna find me. He gonna be a sophomore at the University of Florida playing quarterback.
That man gonna have an invoice. Like, you owe me this much for all this time.
But yeah, other than that, man, I'm just, just cooler, just taking it day by day, step by step. How about you? What you got going on?
Yeah, and I respect that, man. It's everybody. That time will come when you all have like those family moments. Like for me, I have a small family so the inverse. Like I'm the youngest. Like I'm the youngest cousin. Let me be clear. I have some younger cousins, but like it's not that many of us. But I have like everybody that I grew up with. Let's put it that way. My cousins were older than me. My brother and my sister, they were older than me. My aunts and uncles, obviously they're older than me, but they were older than me by like a generation or two. Like they're old. So it's like I'm within my own age range, and my sister and my brother, but my brother didn't live near me. My sister was the only person, and she passed away, but she was the only person who was up to date. She was up to code with everything. Like she was like, she knew everything about everything. So she had the fashion going, she had the music going. She was from the city, so go-go was like, she had the go-go's. She culture, she DMV. So like I only say that to bring up like my family, what we're doing, it's a gathering. Same thing we've been doing for X amount of years. Before I was born. We rotate. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, we rotate. My uncle house, we do Thanksgiving there one year. Then the next year it's at our house. So this year we're hosting Thanksgiving. And truth be told, probably get drunk before I go there. and then say what's up to everybody that's there. And go to town. Like the good thing is my girl, she's Jamaican, so
okay,
she's doing oxtails, and given that's my birthday Thursday too, she gonna bless me and put a little bit to the side for the boys. So I'm feeling pretty good about this thing, man.
Hey man, you just got to get her to get you some rice and peas to go with them oxtails and some plantain.
Hey, come on now. Hey, AJ, come on now.
You're gonna be in the crib like bullet.
Hey, I'm already from the west side of Jamaica, man. Sav, I got my location. I didn't visit it everywhere. When I went out there, man, look, I'm Jamaican. The only thing you can't do to me is talk patois. Can't do it.
Hey, yeah, I don't understand how they even
it's too thick, bro.
With that.
It's too thick out there. Like Americans, it's a little bit watered down. You go out there and they speak patois, bro, it's a wrap.
Yeah, I've been in those situations. I haven't been to Jamaica, but like just like having some Jamaican friends and things of that nature. I'm like, I don't even understand how y'all do this. Like I'm pretty good at picking up on a lot of different things, but that's just different. Broken English to the final destination. Like that's the final boss of broken English. Like
hey, that is crazy, man. But yeah, that's it, man. Obviously I gotta put my bets in. So I'm gonna have me a decent little Thursday. Probably pop out this weekend and celebrate the birthday. But the fellas are in the chat. Everybody's in the chat, man. People are watching. We got some Commanders football to talk about. Let's go ahead and get into it. First thing first, Al two, I see you in here. Dylan, that is funny. It was cold as hell, bro. But let's go ahead and start off with Al two's question. And then we can get to the topic of the show. Obviously, we're previewing, by the way, the Atlanta game because this is the standalone show for this week. So we'll do a preview of the Atlanta game. But Al two, we're going to kick it off with your question, and then we'll get into our discussion pertaining to the team. So Al two asks AJ, does he agree with Pro Football Focus? Oh my lord, is that real? Heineke ranked 39 out of 39 quarterbacks to play in the NFL this season. That's how funny. It's a funny number. But I guess that's I'm gonna trust Al too because I have not looked. So I'm gonna just get a floor to you. He asked you if you agree with that. 39 out of 39. What's your opinion? What's going on, Magic? Appreciate you checking in, big dog.
I mean, I feel like I don't really put too much onus on PFF grades, anyways. But I guess when you think about the bottom tier quarterbacks in the league, he's right there. Zach Wilson, he doesn't have the highest football IQ, but he definitely has like arm strength and some zip behind his passes. Carson Wentz the same. He has the same type of like arm strength and zip behind his passes. But at the end of the day, when you think about breaking down the defense and throwing it between seams or whatever the case is, like, yeah, Taylor Heineke is bottom tier quarterback. And that's why, like, even just now, seeing a post where Taylor Heineke got some merch that came out with him, like, throwing a football, and then the caption says, Terry's down there somewhere. That shit ain't funny, dog. like
you don't like the fucking balls, bro?
Man, you a sorry ass quarterback, bro. Like even the play, the first drive that Jalen Petrie should have had that pick, I don't even know what he saw. Like, even if you thought that Taylor was still going, you could see obviously that he couldn't go where you were trying to throw the ball. So it's just like, yeah, that's crazy to me. And I just been seeing a lot of statistics where people are trying to make it seem like he's playing so good or elite or they're winning because of him. And it's just insane to me. Like, I seen a stat where someone posted how many drop passes have happened with Carson Wentz in his starts versus Taylor Heineke. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Like, how many drop interceptions has this man thrown to the opposing team? Like, it's crazy, man. I don't
even know what that stat was supposed to represent. And I may be slow, but
I don't know what it's supposed to represent either. I was like, either way, it's still stupid. But I just hope that Washington in the near future gets a quarterback and we can stop having these type of discussions, man, because I'm really exhausted by the fact of people trying to sell that this guy's playing. And then, of course, the national media they don't watch full games. So they just see the winning record or, team getting on a streak and oh yeah, he's playing great. He's playing good. No, he's not. Like, they're not winning because of him. Like, not at all.
Where are you at with this quarterback thing in terms of the future? Because like, the more I come to understand, like, you mentioned two players in our chat. Or maybe it was on the show. I can't remember. But you mentioned two players.
It was on the show.
Okay, so you mentioned two players on the show, and you said that they may be able to be had back into the first round, if not second round, especially dude from Florida. Are you going, knowing where we are with this quarterback situation, are you going to do the late first, second round type of quarterback pick here? Are you willing to, like, invest your time into that guy, or are you trying to be aggressive? Because I think there's only two quarterbacks that you're going to have to trade up for. Excuse me, the way Washington is playing right now, there's only going to be two quarterbacks that you're going to have to trade up for. That's dude from Bama, and who the other dude? I think Tennessee, right? But he tore his ACL. Ohio State too.
Towards ACL. So I mean, yeah, with how the draft board is looking right now, if the season were to end today, the two teams with the first two picks need quarterbacks, and the Texans and the Panthers. So you're not going to be able to move up in the way that Washington keeps winning. you know, that's even more incredible leap to take in draft position. That's where I've always said, like, what is the purpose of winning these games? You know, like, this is not a team that's ready to compete. Like, they might luck up and
I
get
got
to,
a counter for that. Once you go ahead, but
yeah,
I got to talk about that part.
they might luck up and get into the P word, but
Mhm.
even if they do, it's still like you're not in a position to really do much there. But maybe a guy like, I think there's probably going to be 4 quarterbacks that go first round. They're still going to push the Will
Oh
Levis
yeah,
out
UK,
of
Kentucky
Kentucky,
dude. Yeah.
who reminds me of Zach Wilson. They're still going
This
to
week
push
one
him.
good. I don't.
Yeah,
I
they're
ain't
gonna
convince
push
me to
him.
not fuck with him.
And Anthony Richardson, he's been pretty inconsistent, but when he has his highs, he has, you know, great moments. But I feel like with the right pairing of a offensive coordinator, you can make do with him, and you probably want to take him in the first round so that you have that option to be able to exhaust fifth year, and you can still keep your guys in the fray like the Deron Paynes, the Chase Youngs, and Sweats. But yeah, I mean, it'd be very interesting to see how it plays out. I just don't know of a quarterback that's a free agent that would be worthwhile trying to pursue. Guys that might be available via trade. Not quite sure that I would want them to be in that position again to take on another hefty contract like a Derek Carr, or, you know, Aaron Rodgers ain't coming here, but just
Yeah.
throwing it out there. Like, I really don't know who's available quarterback wise. Unlike last year, we had a lot of guys that could have possibly been had. But I feel like if you just bring somebody in with dual threat capabilities and the right offensive coordinator, that is the key to everything, honestly, before even the quarterback. Whoever's going to be the coordinator, if Ron decides to stick with Scott Turner again, then just play with any bum at quarterback, because it's not even going to matter. But if they decide to go a different route where someone can be innovative, Anthony Richardson, you can kind of play him exactly like how the Bears are now using Justin Field. It's just that he'll have more weapons to his disposal. He'll be able to pass the ball around. He'll make some mistakes, of course, but I just feel like that's how I'm looking, you know, at the draft for next year. At this point, if this regime stays, I think they go after a guy like Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. I think the conservative approach has always kind of been in their nature, specifically with Ron. And I mean, outside of the one trade that they made with Carson Wentz, that was not conservative. But Alex asks if Washington trades for Bailey Zappi. Short answer is no. You have to have somebody who's willing to trade Bailey Zappi, and Patriots aren't doing that.
Not even just that. You can get him in the draft. Like,
probably.
you can
I mean,
get
and on
somebody
top,
like him in the draft.
and on top of that, like, are we really? I had this conversation maybe on Twitter, maybe not on the show, but are we really? And I know I don't think Alex was 100% serious. Like, he is a rookie. He's probably under contract. I don't think he went undrafted. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, AJ. But even still, like, are we really convinced Bailey Zappi is anything? And the only reason why I want to talk about it now is because I remember the conversation that people were really going hard on Ron Rivera for not playing Sam Howell at a particular time when Bailey Zappi was on like a 3-game winning streak or something like that. But like, it's so many different circumstances that propels Bailey Zappi to be successful in the moment versus a person who Sam Howell is not the same type of quarterback. Like, they're not in the same type of situation, and it's never a parallel comparison. Like, there's always different circumstances that people got to take into account. So that always bugged me with the Sam Howell and Bailey Zappi thing. But to Magic's question, he had asked us, and this actually contributes to or points to the conversation that we have for this show, AJ. You had mentioned when you were talking, like, at some point I understood and I actually agree with you, but I'm starting to change my tune based on more information that I get and more information that I come to understand. DC asked us if Taylor keeps winning. First off, all right, so I'm gonna ask the question and I'm gonna rephrase it. If Taylor keeps winning and win one playoff game, is Taylor your starter for the next season? If Washington keeps winning, I think should be the question, and they win a playoff game with Taylor as a starter, is he your starter for next season? I think the reason why, and I had to do it like that because I think we should know by now, it's not Taylor Heineke that's winning these games. I think the drives against Indianapolis propelled Washington to beat Indianapolis, those last two drives. But I mean, for the most part, like he's like out of 50 drives, I'm making up a number because I don't have it in front of me. Out of 50 drives that Washington had under Taylor Heineke, he probably had what, like 10 that was really good. It's not a good percentage. But my point is, and bringing this back up to the topic, everybody. I don't think, like, at this point, like, there's opportunity for Washington. When you think about where they stack up in the NFC, I've also changed my tune with this defense. I always said that Philadelphia was the litmus test. But the more I had a realization maybe like a day or two ago, and I realized like every single issue that they had that I saw on film, like slowly decreased as the weeks went on. And I always had these concerns. They always popped out, but every single week moving forward, they slowly dissipate. And I'm not saying they're completely gone because they still give up some explosives. And I'm not saying that they haven't met the right team yet because Philadelphia gave them problems when they were on the field. But you're not facing the Philadelphia team anymore. You may face them in the playoffs, but you're not facing a Philadelphia team right now in the NFC in your schedule. He asked, we're going to dissect this part, like split it up. The first part is this season. So winning a playoff game. I don't think that's far-fetched in terms of being able to keep winning with Taylor Heineke and keep winning with the Washington Commanders this year. There ain't that many teams on this schedule where you look at them and say, all right, the way this defense is playing, they're in a good shot to stay in all these games. And they're in a good shot to win some of these games because of this defense. I'm starting to change my tune. Like I said, I actually pretty much believe that this defense is very good. At one point, I thought that they were iffy, but I do lean that they are very good because they're starting to force these turnovers and they're really starting to dominate and take away teams' run game, making them one-dimensional. But that's kind of where I'm at, AJ. I really think that this NFC does have opportunity in it. There's not that many teams ahead of Washington.
I mean, I think you're right in regards to NFC has opportunities, and that's why you've seen Philadelphia make the moves that they've been making. You know, they see that window of opportunity. They understand that, you know, Tampa Bay is bringing back an older quarterback, and even in the beginning, he retired. So we thought that Kyle Trask was going to be the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady came back, and during the season, they haven't looked that promising. A lot of injuries took place, and that window has been open. I mean, the Eagles are 9-1, but during the offseason and in season, they've went about adding assets. Yeah, maybe Robert Quinn isn't panning out how maybe some people thought right now, but come playoff time, that rotation is going to be lethal. Like, you're saving them up for those moments. You know, you're adding the depth in Lavelle, Joseph, and Sue for, you know, the playoff run. Like, you see those opportunities. And with Washington, you know, it's not Taylor Heineke isn't even a game manager. Like, when you say game manager, you're talking about someone that doesn't put the ball at risk. He puts the ball at risk. You know, like I've said on several of our episodes, I think he's just praying to a different person than we are, because he's definitely has given up the ball for grabs and things of that opportunity. I just feel like with this roster right now, you know, if you have to talk about the same staff being in place, that I'm hoping won't be the case. You just have to foresee that if they just get a quarterback that is average, they can be not prolific, but they can be a team that can advance. And if they continue to play defense like this as a unit, communicate and create turnovers, there's a window of opportunity for them to succeed within the NFC. But, you know, this personnel and this coaching staff has to realize that. And I don't feel like since Ron has been there that they've realized that. They have not done anything to show that they want to capitalize on, you know, his first year here when they made the playoffs. Whereas, you know, Nick Sirianni, you know, they made the playoffs and they went and said, shit, we're going to add A.J. Brown. We're going to add Jordan Davis. We're going to go ahead and add James Bradbury. We're going to go ahead and add C.J. Gardner-Johnson. We'll add Hassan Reddick. We'll add Nakobe Dean. We'll add Joseph. We'll add Robert Quinn. We'll add Sue. Like, they're trying to even possibly get Alvin Kamara at running back. Like, they've seen those opportunities, whereas with Washington, kind of like just sat back and letting things kind of play into their hands somewhat, and that's been the lazy approach. And,
but what's getting in their way this year? Like, the way things have unfolded to this point, what's getting in their way? Now, to be clear for everybody that's listening, their offensive line still ain't good. I don't really have that much faith in their offensive line. I don't think that it's drastically gotten better. I think Taylor Heineke being able to get the ball out quicker, understanding where to go to the football, I think that's helped out that offensive line. But that's not always been the case. Like, he's even still faced pressure, but Heineke's legs has been able to get him out of trouble in that regard as well. But when you think about that, you have the Dallas Cowboys, who we know creates a lot of pressure. I do trust Tampa Bay when they're healthy. I'm gonna just put an asterisk beside them. San Francisco, we know that. So we got two teams in Dallas and San Francisco who got them dogs on defense. Seattle's up and coming. I don't think they're that good. I'm looking through New York. Solid defense. I don't think they're anything better than. And the reason why I'm looking at the defensive side of the football, because like I said, I admittedly trust this defense. I trust them against most matchups. I don't trust them against Philadelphia. I also randomly don't trust them against Seattle, which is weird. Given like that's so random with the way Geno is playing. And I don't necessarily trust them yet against San Francisco. So those are three teams I really don't trust them just yet. Admittedly, those are gonna be some tough matchups. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't see, like, I don't think New York is that. I mean, do you have, how much faith do you have in New York to really do any damage to see? Like, do you believe in that 7-3 record, AJ?
I guess I gotta believe if I'm gonna sit here and believe that Washington is better than what, they're not even better, but Washington record indicates that they're a better team than what I really portray them to be. I mean, they've played well, but we also got to remember this is under a first-year head coach, new regime. I think as the season progresses, more teams are going to challenge you, especially when you're deficient in certain areas. Like, as Washington continues to play Taylor Heineke, more teams are going to challenge them to throw the ball. They're going to face more stacked boxes, and that's what's happening with New York. They're forcing them to try to throw the ball with Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley only had 10 yards rushing last week, like off the top of my head. Yeah, so Giants also don't really have a true number one wide receiver, and then
that boy had 22 on 15 carries.
Yeah, Wendell Robinson just tore his ACL, so it's like, yeah, more teams are going to challenge them to throw the ball. Their defense is not elite, but they play together as a unit well enough to compete. But I mean, the NFC is wide open. Like, nobody's a juggernaut. You got the Rams; they're 3-7. They just won the Super Bowl. Yeah, right, like they're
Arizona.
They're
sucks.
done.
Shout out to Hard Knocks. I can't wait to watch that this week.
Man, side note. One of the main coaches has been like shining on there. He got fired. The offensive line coach.
I saw him last week because the dude who hurt his stomach and shit.
Yeah, his appendix.
He got fired.
Yeah, he got fired. Like, something happened in Mexico, they said, over the weekend, so they ain't even let him coach. But
so they're gonna show that this week then. Cause I was about to say I saw it last week.
I doubt the NFL will get into it. They'll probably do a little clip or something. But
bro, that's crazy. I look, I ain't gonna lie to you. I want to see this may sound petty, and forgive me because I'm not this type of person, but I really want to see how bad it gets with with Arizona, because I don't trust. Nah, not just generally, just with the team. And with and with Kingsbury, because I don't trust Kingsbury, and I want to see like what that looks like when a team is struggling and when a team is on a hot. I mean, when a coach is on a hot seat, I want to see what that looks like, because HBO, I think HBO struck gold, bro.
The NFL knows exactly what they're doing. They picked the Colts in season last year because they thought that Frank Wright and Ballard was going to get fired, and they picked the Cardinals because they believe that Kingsbury is going to get fired. They know damn well they're going to do good. Who wants to watch doing good teams in season on Hard Knocks?
I want to see what that shit look
you
like.
want to see the drama. They trying to get Mona Scott Young.
Burn it up. Burn the house down.
They trying to get Love is Hip Hop, the NFL version. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like it is open, but it's up to the coaching staff putting together the right pieces and personnel. And like I said, you have the offensive weapons that you can utilize. Of course, you need a better offensive line. I think you need a more athletic tight end. They're not giving Rodgers the proper opportunities, and now he's on IR. But if you just get an average quarterback within this team, I feel like if you have an average quarterback in general, you have a defense that can compete, like you're competitive in this league. Dre now is on the show, but he even posted, he feels like the 80s, the early 90s like type of offenses are coming back, like the running style. If you have a dominant defense, like you can be progressive in the league. I feel like it's always been like that. In the playoffs, most teams that win aren't throwing the ball all over the place. They're having to run the ball and play hard-nosed as defense in order to win these games and, go on to the conference finals or division finals, whatever, or the Super Bowl. Like, that's really who you're seeing winning these games when it comes to playoffs. That's why I don't think you need an elite quarterback.
Yeah, I just think that Washington is in that position though, where Taylor could, and Washington. I only mentioned Taylor because of Magic's question specifically, but I think Taylor could continue to win in this situation. But I also think that they have a shot depending on the matchup. Again, because Philly is my one where I'm like, I don't think they can beat Philly again. Like I just flat out don't think they can beat Philly again. But I think like they can probably get a dub because I trust this defense for the most part, minus the teams that I mentioned. But yeah, I don't think it's impossible, but I also think that the way they're playing from all three units, including like some of how the playmakers, like I think Logan Thomas, I talk about Logan Thomas a lot, but I think that he's stood out like in a very good way against the Houston Texans from an athletic ability. Like I think he's trusting in his leg again, trusting in his knee again. And he's obviously showing himself in terms of what he can do at the catch point again. And it's like the certain cuts that he's making kind of leads you to believe that he's confident in what he's able to do out there on the field again, which is allowing him to play faster. So I think that Logan Thomas may be back. And I think if he's back, that's a good thing for that tight end position that didn't have anything in terms of being able to have production. Like from a statistical side, they just didn't have anything at all, no matter how many names they had. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is just having some of those threats. Terry McLaurin always going to be there. I don't know what's going to happen with Jahan Dotson with Taylor Heineke. Curtis Samuel's always been there. I think that, the way he's able to, like you call him a gadget player, but I think he's one of the best gadget players out there. Like he is a legitimate threat behind the line of scrimmage and down the field as well. So I think there's opportunities here with the people that they have. It's more so about really trying to maintain drives and keep things pushing. Dre, I want to give you the floor. You just checked in the conversation, and we'll get to the back half of the Taylor Heineke question, and then we'll preview Atlanta. We're trying to figure out where they stack up in the NFC. It's going to be a loaded question because you joined where you did. But you got the floor to take as much time as you want. We're trying to figure out where Washington stacks up in that NFC. But also we got a question from Magic just about Taylor Heineke in Washington. If they continue to win with Taylor Heineke behind center, and they do win a playoff game, like how plausible is that in this conference? And then we'll talk about the next season thing with that. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Well, first off, like I said, I want to say sorry for coming late. It's Thanksgiving week, and I tried to go to the grocery store at the last minute, and those lines were crazy.
God bless.
I said I didn't want to do it tomorrow. That's for sure. I wanted to do it today.
Yeah.
But no. That's actually a good question. It's been something I actually been thinking about all day, because as I'm looking at the NFC, and like AJ said, I tweeted earlier about the 80s and 90s style football and type of play is actually emerging in this conference. Like, you're not going to see, I mean, you can look at the two conferences, the AFC and the NFC. I think the AFC is more finesse, but Tennessee has always found their way in the AFC. And why is that? Because they're the only like power run defensive team in that conference, and they give those teams hell when it comes time for the playoffs. So now you come to the NFC and you have multiple teams kind of like built like the Tennessee Titans. And I think the two best teams right now in this conference, and the two teams that's going to be the scariest come playoff time, are the 49ers and the Cowboys. Like right now, that's how I see it. I think the Eagles, they might start fading a little bit. I don't think they're going to be, I don't think they're going to finish the season as hot as they started the season, so to speak. I mean, we kind of saw that when we played them, the Colts game last week. Like, I don't think our game was a fluke. So to speak, but I do think the Eagles may start floundering a little bit, and I'm not sure their style of play is going to be that effective, or they may go as far in the playoffs when they have to face like the Cowboys and the 49ers, those teams in the playoffs. So coming back to the Commanders, we are kind of in that mode of the Cowboys and the 49ers. I'm hesitant to put us in that tier right now, just because I do think we have a notch below at the quarterback position with Taylor, even though, like I said, you're putting together a string of wins. But that formula, that's what the Cowboys and the 49ers are winning with right now. Like I said, my two scariest teams in the conference. And the beauty of that is we face both of those teams this season before the playoffs. So we'll see how we stack up and how we measure when we face those teams. Obviously, we already played Dallas, but we weren't who we are now when we played Dallas at the time. You had Carson, the offense wasn't doing anything. I mean, he literally couldn't give you anything. The defense was still kind of in shambles around that time when they played the Cowboys. William Jackson was getting beat like a drum, but we're a different team now. Like the team we have now, the team we're watching right now, that team is the team that's going to intrigue me when they do match up with the two teams that I think are the two best in the conference. Now, going to Magic's question about Taylor Heineke, it's actually a good question. If in that scenario, hypothetically, I still look for an upgrade in the offseason. You still search for an upgrade, but I don't think you're as desperate when you look for that upgrade this offseason. If there is no, big time guy out there or no, no brainer type of guy there at the quarterback position, this offseason, then I guess you just have to go into next season. Maybe you do give Taylor and Sam Howell a battle in training camp and let them battle it out and keep on strengthening the roster. And, so then when you do get that quarterback here, you're probably going to be the favorites in the conference at some point with the way you're winning right now. So to Magic's question, right now, I would say you don't go into next season with Taylor Heineke as your quarterback. And even in Magic's scenario, I do think you still look for an upgrade. I mean, the good teams always are looking for that upgrade. However, in that scenario that Magic presented, you do have to consider and think about Taylor more as a starter next year.
AJ, how much if you were this is gonna be a good one. If you were Taylor's agent, how much are you, what are you advertising to owners and general managers? Because he's a free agent this year and he got to get paid. And Washington's going to be in that boat where they're definitely going to entertain the discussions with his agent, whoever his agent is. Where are you starting your negotiations at? I want you to talk as Taylor's agent. You are Taylor's agent. I need to hear your best pitch.
Funny thing is I'm actually cool with his agents. So Chris Cabot and Lee Steinberg, who also represent Patrick Mahomes. That's tough, but I mean, if I'm them, I'm gonna focus on the team's overall winning record. I'm not gonna pay too much attention to his passing yardage and things of that nature. Probably pinpoint to turnover margin. At the end of the day, I just don't really see how interested other teams would be, I feel like his main market is Washington because of the familiarity. Especially if this coaching staff stays in place. I mean, this is a guy that has been in the league, 7, 8 years, been on several teams. This is where he's finally getting his sticking places and kind of landing, and that's due to the coaches having, prior knowledge of him. I just don't really see how you could pay. Yeah, the only option I see for Taylor, honestly, next year for this team is if he's a starter. If he's going to be a backup, it makes no sense to pay him what he probably would want in Washington, because you also drafted Sam Howell as the 5th round pick. Even though he is a 5th round pick, he still has a higher position and possibly ceiling than Taylor, because you also don't know what you're getting in him. But this is someone that was also projected as a top 10 player in the NFL draft in the 2021 season. Unfortunately, due to a lot of things beyond his control with his teammates going on to the NFL, he didn't look the best. He was running for his damn life in North Carolina. But yeah, I just think ideally, I'm trying to think. I don't know off the top of my head. Taylor probably gets $3 million a year right now, or $5 million.
2.5. Yeah, 2.5.
2.5.
That John gonna shoot up to 5, at least 5.
So yeah, he could possibly. I'm trying to think who's the highest paid backup quarterback in the league.
Probably Case. Case at like 8.
Is it Case Keenum or Chase Daniel?
That's what I was thinking. Taylor may be in that range somewhere for his new deal.
You think he good for 8, Drake?
Because here's the thing. There may be a team like the Jets out there, because they're going to move on from Zach Wilson, I think, after the season. I don't see Zach Wilson being in New York, and they have a defense. Jets are in that situation where they're kind of just looking for a competent QB. But I do think Taylor Heineke's options will be limited as far as starting options around the league. Like, no one
is at 6 a year.
Yeah, but no one's going to be beating down Taylor's door to say, hey, we want you to start for us. I mean, at best, I think he may get a call saying, hey, you can compete for the starting job, kind of like a Mitch Trubisky. He may be in a Mitch Trubisky situation this upcoming offseason where he's going to find some team that may say, hey, we're going to give you a look, but we're also maybe going to bring in a guy in the draft or what have you, and you're going to compete. Like, I think that may be his best option, but Taylor's also a self-aware guy. Like everything we've seen in the media, press conference, interviews, Taylor's very self-aware of what he is and where he is in his league. So it wouldn't shock me for him to come back as a backup when he realizes maybe, I don't have many options out there, and I'll stay where I know I'm comfortable at and where I know I can, at least when I come in a game, I can contribute and I can, at least lead this team to a win. So I wouldn't be shocked if he comes back as a backup.
The problem that comes with that, Dre, is they drafted a quarterback with the 5th round pick. So
5th round.
Yeah, it's a 5th, it's a 5th round pick, but it's a lot of things that depends on like what happens with this coaching regime. If this is a whole new coaching regime, he won't be here. Also, his agents have to have foresight on that, because if you do have a backup quarterback that's making a minimum amount of money and they do end up selling this team, new coaches are coming in, new personnel is coming in, he'll likely just get one paycheck with the team for another year and have to go explore to another opportunity with another franchise. Whereas he could be in place with someone or another team that's kind of more comfortable within their coaching staff regime. It's a bit tricky, but I mean, just looking at the numbers just now, like who's the highest paid backup quarterback and things of that nature.
He's making like $1 million.
Yeah, he could possibly get, if they continue to win and they get to playoffs, like that's what they're banking on. He could possibly get like Jacoby Brissett type money, Tyrod Taylor money. Like Tyrod's getting like 5.5 right now. Like he could get that type of money, maybe a 2-year deal or even a 1-year deal. But it just really depends on if this team continues to win and if they possibly get to the P word. Then that increases people being more interested in keeping him here, because I don't see a market for him outside of Washington, honestly.
I think there's a 40% chance he can dip. I was thinking about that number as we were talking. I think it's like 40% chance. Like that's a good number right now. And I only say that now because we haven't finished the season yet. Like if he ends up getting 10, or excuse me, if Washington ends up getting 10 dubs, and he's responsible for obviously 9 of them, that boy getting I think he's gonna get some attention.
I mean, I pray for him not to be here anymore. I'm tired of this experience. I mean, I told y'all that during the off season. Like
Ron gone, Scott gone, Jack gone.
But I told y'all during during the off season.
AG, get him out of here.
This was going to be a problem for Washington if they kept Taylor Heineke within the roster, because I knew Carson Wentz wasn't going to play good enough, and if Taylor came in. If Taylor came in, he was going to make it look somewhat sustainable in comparison to Wentz. But then you also have Sam Howell. You also read about some of the fans' opinions. Like some people think, oh, we got the next quarterback darling already on the roster. Like next year we can go into starting with Sam Howell, which I think is ludicrous. But that's the fan base. It's also another reason why it's like Taylor Heineke has not been the reason why they're winning. If he was the reason why they're winning, oh yeah, he definitely has a starting job next year, but he's not the reason why they're winning.
But this sounds like San Francisco, don't it, AJ? Jimmy Garoppolo is never the reason San Francisco is ever winning, but they win.
Yeah, but Jimmy is actually pushing. He pushes the ball downfield though. Like
overall impact on the game is about the same, to be honest with you. We've watched Jimmy playing 11, 10 games.
I can't sit there and say that. I mean, I didn't really watch the game Monday night, but if I'm not mistaken, Taylor Heineke has not thrown a touchdown in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but they didn't need him to.
I don't know.
What you mean you didn't need your quarterback to throw a touchdown?
They won the games, and they dominated both games.
They're inefficient in the red zone,
but they dominated both games.
Nope, we didn't throw one against Philly.
They're inefficient in the red zone. I would take Jimmy if you feel like
Jimmy is good in the red zone.
If you feel like Jimmy G and Taylor Heineke are damn near the same, then next year you might as well go get Jimmy G and give you a little bit more of an average quarterback. I mean, no, I don't believe that they're the same. I would love to have Jimmy G over Taylor Heineke. But honestly,
But would you love to have Jimmy G?
I wouldn't want to have Jimmy G, period. I'd rather me and Mual were talking about before you came on. I feel like if they're going to keep the same coaching staff and the defense is going to be able to create turnovers, I would rather use my first round pick on a guy like Anthony Richardson out of the University of Florida. Yeah, he might be inconsistent in throwing the ball, mechanics, but a dual threat quarterback, someone that can play average. I don't need him to be elite within this offensive scheme and the weapons, and an offensive coordinator that can get the best out of that player. I think that they could do well with this NFC, because the NFC they don't really have a clear number one. Like the teams that we thought would be possible number ones in Tampa Bay and Los Angeles Rams don't look dominant. Like they're very beatable. Everybody looks kind of beatable now. Philly has like the better chance, but Philly also, we have to remember, has New Orleans Saints first round pick. Then I already know what's going to happen. Like Eagles are going to add Alvin Kamara as their starting running back next year. Like y'all can remember this episode, Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. They're going to add him. They tried their best to add him before the trade deadline. So it's like they're going to continue to add pieces. They may even take that pick and go get a veteran player instead of drafting. But it's like you just need a quarterback that is average at least, and an offensive coordinator that knows what the fuck he wants to do and can get the best out of guys. But I don't know. If you ask me to pick between Jimmy G and Taylor Heineke, that's not even close. Like I'm taking Jimmy G, and I don't think he's one of the better quarterbacks, but he's definitely going to score in the red zone. Like he can definitely do more than what
But
Taylor
is it
Heineke
because
can
of
do
Jimmy,
in the passing
or
game.
is it because of how Kyle schemes up the plays in the red zone? Because I see a lot of misdirection. They hand the ball off to Deebo Samuel a lot in the red zone. I mean, he's a hell of a red zone threat. And then they got Christian McCaffrey. They got George Kittle. I mean, so 49ers have some hell of a weapons over there that they can use in the red zone when they get down there. So, and let's also be honest here. Now, I'm not even trying to say that Heineke is better than Jimmy G. My overall point about those two is that their impact on the game overall is kind of similar, whereas you're not winning games because of either of the two. Like, no, and that goes to show you even in the offseason when when 49ers, when everyone in the world kind of thought that the 49ers were getting rid of Jimmy G because they want to start Trey Lance, people weren't beating down the 49ers door for Jimmy G. I mean, if he was a free agent, sure, he would have been in a situation maybe like Mitch Trubisky, where he's going to go start somewhere, but no one would have thought of Jimmy G as a long-term starter for their franchise. Jimmy G,
you know who did?
Who? Washington. Yes.
so that Ron got pissed. So
yes.
that tells you all together that they even believe that Jimmy G is better than Taylor Heineke.
They also thought Carson Wentz was better than Taylor Heineke, and Carson Wentz is backing him up now.
I really feel like they never believed the Carson Wentz thing. They just panicked. They literally just panicked. They just knew that they could not go into the season and try to sell this fan base under a rebrand with Taylor Heineke once again. Like that is what they did. They panicked because the trade alone just screams panic. And that's why Ron Rivera got so mad that news leaked about Jimmy G. I mean, if he was healthy, he would have got traded. Like he would have been on a different team and he probably would have been here. It just seems like they know that they possibly need a game manager style quarterback. And unfortunately, in Wentz, they didn't let him try to be what he was kind of last year for the Colts, where they ran the ball majority of the time. Instead here, they try to throw the ball all over the field with him, and that's just not who he is.
In AJ, that's not what they want to be. They don't want a game manager. And that's not to say that, they shouldn't need a game manager, but Scott Turner, whatever we feel about Scott Turner, he wants to run a different offense than what he's running right now. I think Scott Turner hates running this type of offense. I think he's running this offense because he's forced to with his personnel. And even then, he didn't want to do it with the personnel he had. But this is the offense that what he has right now at the quarterback position. This is the way for this team to have any kind of success. So Jimmy G, game manager, and that's what Heineke's been doing. And that's kind of my overall point, is that those two's roles on their teams. And we all know Taylor Heineke's physical limitations. And Jimmy G physically is the better quarterback. When you look at the physical traits and everything, yeah, you're going to say you'll take Jimmy G's physical traits over Taylor Heineke's physical traits. But when you're talking about the overall impact on the game, I don't think the gap is that big between the two of the quarterbacks. I don't think teams win because of Jimmy G or because of Taylor Heineke. I think both of them are game manager type of quarterbacks. And the difference between the two is that I think Heineke wants to be something more. And I also know that Scott Turner wants to call something different. I think Scott Turner wants to run a different offense than he runs. But he has Taylor Heineke, and he has to limit himself. And he also and Taylor Heineke also has to limit himself. But again, my overall point of this is that those two quarterbacks' impact on the game are very similar for their teams.
So I do think I agree with that. I do think that Garoppolo. It's the last thing because we got 7 minutes to talk. Atlanta and Washington. I do think Jimmy has had a lot more high leverage games, I guess, like bigger stake games where he's delivered and that he has experience in. And that's not to say, Taylor hasn't reached that point, but I think to the overall contribution to the conversation, I think Jimmy can bring a little bit more from I know what to do in this situation, and my ability to quarterback in terms of whether it's to throw or the way I throw the football can be more value. And I don't know if that's even making sense in a way, but I think Taylor Heineke abandons the way he's supposed to throw the football, the way he knows how to throw the football, and it kind of gets into bad throws, stare downs, interceptions, turnover opportunities, or just overthrows and bad misses. So yeah, that's that. I did see a whole bunch. I saw a few comments in there. Fellas, let's get the keys to the game. Atlanta is on their way to FedEx Field. Everybody's just checking in. Yes, sir, Hawk. You see it. 995, man. It has been a slow burn. But we're 5 away. I may have to cheat. I may have to do a clickbait video and get everybody onto the channel. But we'll figure things out. Where y'all heads at with this Atlanta game? What are y'all keys? I think the biggest thing for me is that run game. Atlanta, I had mentioned that maybe Sunday. If not, I mentioned it on the morning show. Atlanta's some dogs, bro. They love to run the football. They don't care who is in front of them. They're going to try to establish the ground game. They're going to try to get the ground game going. And I think they're a top 5 rush offense. And their guy Arthur Smith is obviously under the Vrabel tree. He has a tree. And they love to run the football. He has that experience with Derrick Henry, obviously, knowing what it took to get things done there. And I think he has some experience with Mariota, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. I think the ground game is going to be the biggest thing. And in terms of being able to have another test in front of you, this is going to be one where Washington is going to go up against a team who wants to run the football just as much as they want to stop the run.
For me, this Atlanta game, yeah, Jamal, it's the run game, and Washington is going to have to. I think this is a game where they should win again, and this is a game where they should look good and not just win. I mean, you see the Vegas line. The Vegas line is actually moving up in Washington's favor, which means the sharp money is all on Washington. And I think that's because, as you mentioned, Falcons' strength is on the run game, whereas that's the strength of the Washington defense. You can't run on the Washington defense. I mean, you see that shit against Houston. Dameon Pierce. I mean, this guy, probably the second best rookie running back in the league right now. He had 10 yards on 8 carries. So, I mean, This is the strength of the team.
8 on 10, I think.
There you go. So the game plan I think Washington has to have on this defense is the same game plan you had against the Chicago Bears. I mean, obviously, you had Justin Fields and Marcus Mariota, kind of similar in the fact that, those are running quarterbacks. They can beat you with their legs and, they can make some throws here and there. But you're going to have that same game plan. And I think this is a game if Washington comes in focus, it should be similar to the Houston game in which they shouldn't feel too much threatened throughout the game if, Washington is, the team that they're looking like the past couple of weeks against the Eagles and the Texans, where they've dominated both of those teams. They dominated the Eagles, who were the best team in the NFC at the time. They dominated the Texans, who were the worst team in the NFL, but they did what they were supposed to do against a team like the Texans. So the Falcons is another game. Kyle Pitts is out. That's a hell of a weapon right there for Atlanta. He won't be playing in this game. Yeah. I think they have a couple of other injuries as well. But even still, this is a game where Washington needs to come out and they need to dominate this team again. They don't need to let Atlanta hang in. I mean, Atlanta, they play better than the talent on the roster is. I mean, that's one thing about them. I've watched a lot of their games. They do play better than the talent they have on the roster or the projections that they had preseason. But this is still a team where you should come in and you should feel good and confident about beating. So like I said, the game plan I think they need to come in with is the same game plan they had against the Bears, where they come in, you're playing edge control. You're not letting Marcus Mariota get out on the edges. He's beating you. You keep him in the pocket and just let Deron and John work. Let those two guys work in the interior, collapse the pocket. And this is a game offensively. You want to see Taylor and them, as AJ mentioned, you want to see this team offensively start to convert in the red zone. I mean, they were 1-4 in the red zone.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
1-3 when it mattered. The last drive was
and they would have scored on that. Yeah.
But red zone, yes. And then third downs, bro. 3 of 13.
Yes. But they had been good on third downs before that last game. That last game.
No, they haven't, Dre.
Well,
they was good against the Philadelphia.
Go ahead, defend your son.
They was good against Philly. It frustrates me because I was talking about it for a while. Like they have not. The Philly game was the outlier.
But since the Carson game, since Carson had went out, I thought they had been better on third downs than they were when Carson was in. And the reason I felt like that was because they put themselves in better third down situations. Like they were getting good yards on first or second down, especially in the Philly game. The Philly game, they were getting good yards on first or second down, where they were putting themselves on very good third down situations. This past week, they were really bad on third down. It looked like the earlier portion of the season where they just couldn't convert those downs. But that's going to be big too. They have to get better on third downs and red zone with this offense, especially what they're trying to do. This is the identity they're creating right now. They're a ball control offense. You can't be a good ball control offense if you aren't good on third downs or red zone. So that's something they're going to have to really improve this week against Atlanta.
Before you go, AJ, I just want to make it known too. We got to give some respect to that good boy Drake London, man. I know Kyle Pitts is out, but man, they ain't look when you got a dog in Drake London, man. We're gonna have to probably triple team him. It's the only way. That's
get him a real quarterback, AJ.
We'll let you and Fred Smoot have that conversation. I ain't really watched too much Atlanta football this year, but of course, like
he chilling. Ain't nothing special.
Yeah, just know Arthur Smith's system, how he likes to run the ball, and then do a lot of play action and bootlegs, especially with Mariota. I think that's the one thing that you need to just kind of key in on is stopping the run. Because once you stop the run, then you can't play off of play action. That's going to be huge, especially with Cordell Patterson being able to line up all over. And he's a weapon, and we've already seen teams kind of take advantage of John Boston being out on the field. I mean, he turned that Brandon Cooks catch. That probably should have been stopped right in front of him. Instead, that went on to be like a 30-plus yard gainer just because he can't keep up. So, when you bring in someone like Cordell Patterson, you need to make sure that you try to utilize the best defensive scheme you can to stop him from being a factor. Drake London, of course, he has size or whatever. I think this is going to be a good matchup for Ben St. Juice. They're both, athletic, bigger guys. It's pretty tough for guys of Drake London's size to go against guys that, he can look dead in the eyes with versus, most of these corners
ain't
being
no challenge for
5'9", 5'10". But,
I was
looking forward to seeing Kyle Pitts play in this game. I didn't even know he got hurt until the other day. But, at the end of the day, unfortunately, he's not going to be in that position. But, I don't really know what Atlanta brings to the table defensively.
You gonna tell Foolish your secrets, bro?
This Foolish first show.
just keep tuning in, I guess. But
no bull. Keep tuning in. You're gonna find out.
At the end of the day, I'm just curious to see how this team plays in stopping the run, how they utilize, how they plan to slow down Cordell Patterson and special teams. We seen Cordell over the weekend break for that 103-yard kickoff return. He's a threat. So your special teams need to come ready and prepared Sunday to make sure that they don't get an advantage within field position and try to stop that man from scoring. But overall, I expect the same run and pound from Pause.
Go ahead, tell us we're gonna lose, AJ. Go ahead, tell us we're gonna lose. That's what you've been doing.
I really don't know. I think it's a toss-up game because I really haven't seen that much of Atlanta to really know. Like, I don't even know who their primary running back.
We was only gonna win one more game this season. That was against Houston.
That's generally how I felt. Fortunately, the defense has been able to make some plays.
You say that defense wasn't balling though. They balling now.
They at the time when I said that they weren't.
They was balling. You just hating.
Nah, they wasn't balling. They wasn't creating no turnovers. But that's the key to success for Washington, man. If they can stop the run and create turnovers, and put some points on the board.
Saying they got a shot. They got a shot.
Yeah, they got a
every
shot.
Game.
This team is slowly.
It's a 50. It's
what
a 50
Steve Urkel tell Laura, we weigh you down, AJ. We weigh you down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 50-50 game. It'll be interesting to see how it play out. I think it'll boil down to who creates the most turnovers. as we've seen with Taylor Heineke, he plays sporadically. That ball could be given up at any given damn time. You just don't know. AJ Terrell is a dog at corner. He will definitely be following Terry McLaurin wherever he goes. He'll travel with him. But yeah, I mean, if Taylor gives up the ball, Marcus Mariota gives up the ball too. So it's just
I'm about to say, come on now. I was waiting for you to bring up Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus Mariota
gives
up the ball too. That's why I said whoever. I'm pretty sure when we have,
but just generally forcing turnovers though, AJ. Because I mean, Washington, I think just even off of like the strength, like I didn't think about this till this conversation, but I don't remember Washington like outside of the quarterback position having any turnovers. Like I don't remember seeing any teams have forcing fumbles against us. Not many fumbles lost. I may be mistaken. Like all of the turnovers that I remember for Washington has come from the quarterback position. And to your point, like whoever creates the most turnovers, like it doesn't have to come from the quarterback position. Like how opportunistic is this defense? Can it continue? They had like 12 turnovers in the last 6 games. Washington has, I think like 4 games, something like that. But they're forcing a lot of turnovers in a short time span, and that's a very high rate considering where they came from. So I think to your point,
emerging set of young players.
Yeah, like these guys on the defensive side of the football has done a lot for this team. It has done a lot for creating momentum and energy for the defense to like go back out there. If there was a 3-and-out on the offensive side of the football, I'm like, we're going to get you the ball back again, or giving the ball back in the shorter field for offense who still struggles to put up points, but is still finding a way to keep the ball for like six minutes of possession and doing whatever, God knows what with it. But your point, yeah, AJ, forcing turnovers, that really is important. It doesn't have to come by the backs of a quarterback. How do you force the ball out of other people's hands as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like we're in for another boring ass game Sunday, because we're just gonna see both teams try to run down each other's throat. Like I said, who's gonna punch out that ball? Who's gonna make a play defensively? And not just one time, but multiple times. That's who's going to win the game. And then next week you got the Giants. So
AJ, you don't like to see winning football? Winning football is boring to you? This is old school football. They winning over.
Nah, I mean, I like to see winning football. I just don't really like the I don't like the offensive scheme, man. Like I'm so frustrated with the scheme. I mean, like you said, Dre, they're literally forcing Scott to do what he doesn't want to do. And I feel like as a coach, you should be willing to do whatever it takes to win and trying to master your craft behind that. Like, get creative. Let's see some of, how the 49ers utilize the run game. Like, let's see some toss. Like, let's see some toss to Gibson, put him on that edge. Let's see you do some more stretch zone runs. Like, let's see more of that, and I have yet to see that implemented. We're seeing the same basic halfback dives in inside zones, and maybe Curtis got the ball a little bit more on these jet sweeps, but I just want to see him like fully adapt to the fact that we need to play smash mouth football. Let me do a better job of dialing this up so I can also get more creative with the play action game. Like, let me take advantage of my tight ends, Logan Thomas, Cole Turner, in the passing game a bit more. That's my hiccup. But like you said, Dre, he don't want to play this style. He want Air Coryell.
Well, he gonna have to temper himself because I think I ain't gonna lie to you all. I think that Ron is doing a damn good job telling him stick to the script.
Yeah,
don't worry about anything else. Stick to the goddamn script so we can get up out of here and get these dubs. Because I don't trust Scott Turner as far as I can see him. And he is in a position where his job. I think Ron is actually doing him a favor. Like
he is
making sure that and I don't want to put the whole onus on Ron Rivera for quote unquote tempering Scott Turner. I'm not saying that's the case, but I do think there was a discussion because there's no way you go from such a drastic approach one way and pass heavy to or just like an inconsistent or off balance run pass ratio to prioritizing the run where you're averaging 40 carries in the last 2 games. Like that is ridiculously high in a good way, but like that's not you. And we know that's not you. Fellas, let's get the predictions and get up out of here. Jason, I see you checking in as a Niners fan. Appreciate that. You know, we're in a conundrum here because we talk about on the show all the time that we don't appreciate how this team plays, but from an actual overall standpoint, and they smacking heads defensively, man. I love to see it. Armani, I see you as well. Appreciate you checking in. Let's get the predictions, man. AJ, Dre, whoever want to take the floor first in terms of getting the dub, we got to get that prediction, and let's get the MVP as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game is a 50-50 game. I think you have 2 teams on the verge of, possibly pushing themselves closer to possibly making a stronger P-word push. It's a big time game for both teams, especially for Washington as they go into next week playing the NFC East competitor in the New York Giants. I really think that this game will come down to whoever creates the most turnovers. I see 2 below average quarterbacks on both sides. Wide receiver wise, Washington has the edge. Defensively, Washington has the edge because of their ability to stop the run. But overall, whoever is going to make the most plays defensively, that's who will win this game. I said it'll be a boring game because they'll mostly be running. Whoever gets the advantage on, these run possessions and gaining yards, whether it be 3 to 4 yards per carry, they'll be able to utilize some of the passing game. If Atlanta gets to do that in advance, then shit, it's going to be a long day because you'll be able to suck in, those linebackers. You'll be able to
3 times, bro.
You'll be able to get Jamin Davis and John Bostic to bite down on the run game, and that exposes them to a lot, whether it be Drake London or Cordell Patterson. And that's exactly what Arthur Smith offense is predicated on. But I think I'll go with Washington as they've been on a hotter streak as far as creating turnovers, and say that they win the game. But I still think it'll be a close game. I'm going to say 17-20 Washington.
AJ picked Washington.
Surprising.
And also, Al Tuss, I will never be converted into a Taylor Heineke believer.
Next week, though, AJ might have a Ron Rivera Forever shirt. I told you we win him down.
Wait, who's the MVP? My bad. I want to get that too. Who's your MVP?
MVP. I think MVP is the defensive line front overall. I think it'll be big time on Deron Payne.
Okay.
I'm hearing that Chase might play. So Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat, it'll really boil down to them.
You heard that, Foolish? He said he's hearing that Chase Young might play. Keep that in mind.
So yeah.
Hey, Dre, where you at with this one?
I'm going 27-21 Commanders. I do think we win this game again. And I do think the MVP of this game is a guy who's been getting better weekly, and weekly he's showing why they drafted him, Brian Robinson. I think Brian Robinson might get 2 goal line touchdowns in this game. Washington wins it 27-20. Joey Slye gets a couple of field goals.
Well, you done changed your score twice just now.
What did I say, 27-21 first?
You said 27-21, then you say 27-20.
All right, no, I'm sorry. It's 27-20. Falcons get 2 touchdowns.
Your gambling lines right.
No, it's fine. No, I got the gambling right. They cover regardless. That was the point I was going for. The line is 4.5. I have Washington winning 27-20. And like I said, Brian Robinson, he's the MVP. Brian Robinson, he's been getting better weekly. He's showing fans and he's showing everyone, hey, it took him some time. Like when he first came out there, when he was first activated, he played. He looked hesitant. He didn't look that sure of himself. But then he's dragging dudes. He's dragging guys 4 and 5 yards. He's getting those extra yards. He's showing a little bit of extra burst. And I think he's finally getting so comfortable to the point where I think he's going to be the MVP of this game. And Washington wins 27-20. That's my score.
Okay. Well, fellas, I would have definitely said that this was a blowout, or this will be a blowout in Washington's favor if Drake London wasn't playing. But he is playing, and therefore, I think that this game is going to be pretty close. Drake London is a dog. Drake London is the offense. Second behind him is Cordero Patterson, and obviously third is Marcus Mariota. So with that being said, I think that Washington ends up winning the game. Even though they won't be able to stop Drake London, they'll probably
what
win.
What are you talking about? I just pulled up Drake London's stat from last week against the Bears. He had 1 reception for 2 yards.
Damn.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that happens. Those type of games happen. There was games last year where Terry had 0 catches. What are we doing?
But mind you, he had
Ball sticking up for his boy, man.
Early in the season,
up, bro?
1 catch for 9 yards.
Yeah, I mean, look,
AJ put them stats up.
Yeah, go ahead and pull them stats up. You do what you gotta do. Look, all the receivers, there are receivers who have down periods. He's a rookie. All right. We are all right over here. I know Drake London know what they're eating.
And
I ain't got nothing
Jamal, in fairness to you, they have Marcus Mariota at quarterback. I mean, he's not a pocket passer. He's not diming that ball out the number of receivers. Tell me.
Come on, hey, Dre, I know it. I knows it, my brother. I knows it. But with that being said, man, I got Washington. I don't know how you saw 27 points, Dre, with this team who was averaging like 14
I don't know
points a
either.
game.
They got 23 and 32 the last 2 games.
Come on now, the pick 6. They had a pick 6, Dre.
But they could have had 30 if Antonio Gibson doesn't just slide down,
So I'm gonna go.
I'm still surprised that they ended up beating Philly with so many points. Like, I mean, boy, they are so bad in the red zone. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 20. I'm gonna go 20 on the nose. Washington, and I'm gonna say 17. So 20-17 Washington. I'll say my MVP is Drake London. I mean, I'm gonna say my MVP is Jahan Dotson. I'm gonna say Jahan Dotson. Yeah, that was just a slip. You know what I'm saying? He probably gonna have a good game.
Then you picked the other rookie wide receiver.
Yeah, Drake on his mind. Yeah, Drake on the mind, man.
Yeah. Drake London probably had about 10 catches, something like that. But for sure. We're gonna do Jahan Dotson.
1 and 2 yards last week. He gonna have 10.
He gonna have 10 catches for 30 yards. But nah. I'm gonna go Jahan Dotson, man. I just think for all this worth, man. Obviously, he's coming back from injury, dealing with the lower body, the leg injury, obviously hamstring, and stuff like that. It's gonna be tough. But at some point, and I'm just banking on it being this week. I may be wrong, but at some point, it's gonna be a moment where like he knows that he's back. And like the chemistry between he and quarterback is developing to the point where you're seeing it on the field as well. So I'm just gonna bank that this is that week. And I'm gonna say that Jahan Dotson has a huge impact on this game. So 20-17, my MVP is Jahan Dotson. That's gonna wrap it up for us, man. So listen, everybody, there is no show Thursday. This is our show that's gonna serve for us throughout the whole week, man. Thanksgiving is Thursday. We watching ball, we drinking, we pouring up, we turning up. You know what I'm saying? We gearing up for some food and family and friends and or just some good old football and things like that. So y'all take it easy, enjoy y'all holidays, happy Thanksgiving, all that good stuff. The fellas will be back maybe Sunday. I'm gonna talk to you all because my flag football playoffs is actually going to end at a reasonable time. So we'll talk about it in the group chat. So we may be back Sunday in terms of immediate post game, Atlanta and Washington. But that being said, y'all enjoy y'all evening, enjoy y'all night, all that good stuff. Enjoy the holidays too, and pull up for your boy. We out of here. Peace.